What is going on, everybody? Welcome on into TTP Sports. And the Eagles are 8-1 after beating the Dallas Cowboys. Nothing happened at the end of the game. Nothing drastic happened. Nothing crazy happened. It just all resulted in your Eagles going 8-1. And that is all that matters at the end of the day. I can't say that with a straight face. Oh my God. I really want to try to ignore what happened in those final 2 minutes because holy shit. Those final 2 minutes at the end of the game was probably the dumbest football I have watched on both sides. On both sides of the ball. And then, of course, ref ball gets into the action. Seriously, literally every play was a flag, flag this, flag that. Whether it's, offside, whether it's pass interference, whether it's holding, whether it's a flag on the play, and then they don't call the flag, and they just decide to, it's a sack, and then nothing else happens there. Holy hell, my brain was melting. My brain doesn't exist. I don't even know how I'm functioning right now after witnessing those final 2 minutes. Seriously, those final 2 minutes of the game felt longer than the entire game itself. That's how long it felt. My God, when you think that, okay, they get the stop on 4th down, or they get the stop, on the 2-point conversion, go down, ice the game, and then you don't. You just keep giving them the ball back. I've never seen this team struggle to close out a game so much. It's ridiculous. Just get a first down. Just get a first down. That's all you got to do. Just get a first down. That's all you got to do. Seriously, what is worse? What is worse? Craig Kimbrell closing out a game for the Phillies, the Eagles trying to close out a game themselves, or freaking Dak Prescott in pressure situations. Holy hell, he was bad as well in those situations. Missing some throws to guys that should have been open. Maybe not, trusting his best receiver in CeeDee Lamb on probably a 50-50 ball. He was one-on-one with Slay in the end zone near the end of the game. Not sure why he doesn't trust them with that. I will give credit to partially the defense for getting those sacks late in the game. Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat stepping up. Those guys making, putting some pressure on Dak. But our secondary was terrible the entire game. Leaving guys wide open. Just, chunk yard after chunk yard after chunk yard. So many 3rd and long plays allowing them to convert. Like, my God. But you did prevail. You did prevail. Goal line stands, preventing them from scoring on 4th down after Dak Prescott does a little helicopter move going 1-on-2 against 2 Eagles defenders. And then also Blankenship forcing the tight end to get down before he got into the end zone. The knee was down. Was it a touchdown? But then also the refs in this game were very horrible. There were so many missed calls. There were so many calls that, probably shouldn't have been called. There were so many ticky-tacky calls on the Eagles, on the Cowboys. It was terrible for both sides. My God, I've never seen a worst ref game in my life, and I'll probably see another worst ref game in my life. I'll probably be saying this every week of my entire life, watching the NFL, because that's how the NFL works. It's always terrible reffing as the weeks go along. But my God, the refs were terrible in this game. Like, seriously, especially on that final drive, it was just flag after flag after flag. Like, you couldn't even describe it. Not even a motion, flag. And they almost didn't even call the delay of game on the Cowboys there, too, when the play clock was like 50 seconds off after ending. Like, seriously, the play didn't snap until, like, it was like -50 on the clock, even though that doesn't exist. That's what it felt like. And then they finally stopped the play. They finally called the flag. My God. My God. And then the final play of the game, the CeeDee Lamb. Holy shit, that even had to be close. My God. My God. But it does result in a game that your Eagles have won and they move to 8-1. Thank God the fucking bye week is next week, because this Eagles team desperately needs it. You lose Dallas Goedert in this game. He goes down with an injury, and it does not look good in my honest opinion. It's a forearm situation. The way he went down, the way the Dallas player landed on him didn't look pretty at all. I really hope it's not going to result in some type of fracture in his forearm, because he would definitely miss a lot of time if that's the case. What else? Jalen Hurts at the end of the first half took a little bit of a bad shot to his leg that was already injured to begin with one of the Dallas players and one of the Eagles offensive linemen falling on Jalen Hurts' leg. So that was kind of scary, but Jalen Hurts is a dog. He's a warrior. He just goes out there and battles regardless of the situation. So good on Jalen for doing that. And Jalen Hurts was fantastic this game, in my opinion. He was fantastic. This was his most efficient game of this entire year. Probably his best game of the entire season. And he saved it for the last game before the bye week in probably the most important game of the first half of the season, which I really appreciate you, Jalen, for doing that. I really appreciate Jalen for doing that because he was awesome in this game, keeping plays alive, throwing some dimes, whether it's to A.J. Brown, whether it's to the beautiful pass to Devontae Smith in the end zone, and Devontae makes an unreal catch on that play too. Just Jalen Hurts doing Jalen Hurts things, even utilizing his legs a little bit, getting down when he needs to. Jalen was just all over the place, man. He was really good. And you almost did turn the ball over twice. Thank you, DeAndre Swift. But thankfully, Tyler Steen with that huge fumble recovery, give him the game-winning ball at the end of this game. And then also, DeAndre Swift just almost fumbling the ball twice. And thankfully, you're just able to get on top of it because DeAndre Swift fumbles near the red zone. Thankfully, he was down and on top of the ball before Dallas just ripped the ball out of his hands when he was already down. But the refs decided to let the play go. So thankfully, you were on the good side of your fumbles in recovering their fumbles. So technically, you didn't turn the ball over, which was a good thing. Receivers today, everyone got an even amount of use, I would say. Devontae Smith played some good action. He also left the game a little bit late for a little bit there, but he did come back into the game. Bradbury left for a little bit. Slade left for a little bit. Everyone is fucking banged up. I'm like, my God, Fletch left the game in the early part of the stages for a little bit, but he came back and played the rest of the game, so that just shows how much of a warrior he is. I believe Nakobe Dean left the game, so he left after, I believe it was one of his sacks, along with Fletcher Cox. So Nakobe Dean left the game. You were just banged up all over the place in this game because oh my God. Injuries all over the place. Like I said, maybe the bye week's coming at the perfect time. So some of these guys that are just nicked up can get the much deserved rest that they need. Man. Definitely did not need to raise my blood pressure in those final 2 minutes. I don't think that needed to happen, in my honest opinion. Those last 2 minutes of the game was probably the worst football I've ever watched. Probably the worst football I've ever watched in my life. You can't close the game out. You can't just get a simple first down. And then, of course, you waste the challenge on a play that was very, they weren't going to overturn, all that stuff. You waste that, so you almost came back to haunt you at the end of the game because you couldn't use a timeout. And then, it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense, but you came out with the win. I was going to give so much credit to Brian Johnson, too, because there were so many creative things that he did during this game. When he brings Gainwell and Swift out there, Swift comes around the end, and he takes the ball, and he gets some nice chunk yardage. Gainwell getting a nice block, and Gainwell got a nice, on that first drive of the game by the Eagles. Like, seriously, the defense gets a 3-and-out on the first drive, which was probably one of the better things they did all game, besides, the goal line stop and all that stuff at the end of the game. The first drive of the game was the best the defense had looked the entire game. That was the best they looked the entire game, that first drive, the 3-and-out. Then you have a nice, long, sustained first drive, some nice plays by Jalen, some nice passes, and then it turns to Kenny Gainwell in the end zone doing a little cartwheel, bolt barrel roll over some of the defenders and in for a touchdown. So I guess he made us shut up in that point. Same thing with Sirianni making us shut up for questioning about Kenny Gainwell. But then, Dallas, their next 2 drives, they go down and score. You go 3-and-out in between that, but then you eventually find a way to tie the game up. But that's not really until, you do find a way to tie the game up, but then Dallas, they make it a 3-point game going into the half. Sadly, you had a chance to at least tie the game going into the half, but then that whole situation, Jalen Hurts gets banged up. I would say it's probably a good call by Nick Sirianni, not trying to force anything there to put his quarterback under duress just after getting banged up a little bit there. So you end up getting that touchdown to start the first half. So at the end of the day, it's no harm, no done. 2 touchdowns to start the second half, and then offensively, you just stalled basically after that. So many punts in a row after you made it 28-17, because starting that third quarter was just absolute dominance by the Eagles. Those 2 touchdowns, you force Dallas to punt, and then they eventually take their second drive into the fourth quarter where they stall out on the goal line. So that helped them in that situation, in my opinion there. But actually, let me see. No, actually, the goal line stand was later on. You did force into a 13-play drive where it was, no, actually, No, actually, that was directly after the Eagles made it 28-17. There were so many things that happened at the end of the game. I'm forgetting like the sequences and all that stuff. But then like you get the goal line stand, you start the ball in your own end zone on the 1 yard line, and you actually use the tush push to get out a couple of yards away from the end zone, which is actually pretty funny. But you still go 3 and out in that process, and not the best punt in the world, which Dallas, takes it downfield. Dak Prescott, who apparently is the best scrambler in the world. Like, even though they got so many sacks at the end of the game, there were so many chances for them to get sacks at the beginning of the game, too. I believe it was on that third and 14 drive play where Dallas scored their second touchdown of the game, where Hassan Reddick probably could have gotten another sack, and he just wasn't able to get Dak down. Dak was literally scrambling all over the place, and I just don't get it. You're making Dak look like he's the elitist of the elite scrambler in the world, outside the pocket, doing everything he wants to do. It was just weird. But then thankfully, when Dallas does make it a 28-23 game, they try to go for it on 2, and then Dak, being the idiot that he is and the overrated quarterback that he is, steps out of bounds. Great awareness there, Dak. Great awareness. Foot goes out of bounds before you get the ball into the end zone, so the 2-point conversion fails. But then this is just what I don't understand. So they fail in that situation, and then you go 3 and out again because for some reason you want to throw the ball on 3rd and short. You want to throw the ball downfield to A.J. Brown. I just don't get the play calling there. And then on your second chance to ice the game out, DeAndre Swift almost fumbles the ball, running into A.J. Brown. Thank God Tyler Steen landed on the ball, because that could have been terrible. You probably would have lost the game if you lost the fumble. So Tyler Steen, hero of the game in that situation. Because holy shit, my God. And then all the flags come down, the pass interference on Bradbury. Then I believe there was a flag on Slay, if I'm not mistaken. There was an offsides penalty. There was just so many things. And then Dallas eventually started getting penalties in those final few seconds of the game. It was just a fucking clusterfuck at the end of the game. It just doesn't make sense. It did not. So let's go over the stats of this game from individual perspective. Jalen Hurts, I thought, was fantastic. 17 of 23, 207 yards, 2 touchdowns, 130 quarterback rating. He was fantastic. DeAndre Swift had 18 carries for 43 yards. He had some good runs in this game, but he also almost lost 2 fumbles. So there's something there. Kenny Gainwell didn't get that many touches. 22 yards for 3 carries. He had 1 touchdown at the beginning of the game, but they really didn't use him the rest of it. Rashad Penny actually got a couple of touches in this game. He probably would have been gone, too, if it wasn't for... because he had a nice hole up the middle, and one of the Dallas defensive line players managed to break 3 and find a way to get the tackle there. He probably would have been gone. So Boston Scott not playing this week. Rashad Penny get the chance. So there's something there. A.J. Brown, 7 catches for 66 yards. Devontae Smith, 3 catches for 51 yards and a touchdown in this game. Same thing with A.J. Brown. Just a nice little simple, Jalen Hurts breaks the pocket, finds A.J. Brown open on the left side, just walks it in for an easy score. Dallas Goedert, 3 catches for 50 yards. DeAndre Swift, 2 catches for 31. Zacchaeus had 1 catch for 8 yards. Same thing with Kenny Gainwell. He had 1 catch for a yard. Defensive line situations, Nakobe Dean got a half a sack in this game. Brandon Graham got a sack and a half. Jalen Carter, Fletcher Cox with half a sack. Hassan Reddick, I thought, had a good game. Josh Sweat got a sack late in there. Secondary, though, was not good. Secondary, though, got torched up. There were so many guys left open. CeeDee Lamb was killing you. The tight end was killing you. It was just ridiculous. Dak in this game, 29 of 44, 374 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did get sacked 5 times, but he probably could have got sacked way more in this game. Tony Pollard, 12 carries for 51 yards. CeeDee Lamb had 191 yards on the game. He was just tearing you apart everywhere. Ferguson, 7 receptions for 91 yards. Tolbert, 3 catches for 49 yards. So, yeah, they were finding holes, and they were finding some chunk yardage there, especially on those 3rd and long plays. Because, seriously, they had 3rd and 15. No, they had 3rd and 14. They converted. They had 3rd and 15. They got it to 4th and 1, and then eventually converted to 4th and 1. And then they had another 3rd down. I believe it was early in the 4th quarter. It was another 3rd and long play. They converted that. And then I was completely shocked they didn't give up like the 3rd and 20 plus. I was completely shocked about that. They almost did because it turned into, 3rd and 20 something, became 4 and 8, and then the Eagles got the stop on the 4th down. Bradbury made a nice play. It was just a clusterfuck, like I said. Clusterfuck. Like my brain hurts, my head hurts, my stomach hurts, my blood hurts, blood pressure, that is. Everything hurts. My body hurts. My God. My God. Jesus. This team is 8-1 now. This team is 8-1. It's the most important thing. The most important thing. Thank God they got to the bye week. Thank God they got to the bye week. Jesus. They should have probably lost that game, in my honest opinion. The Eagles should have lost that game. Because with just that many mistakes in the final, so many drives that you had to close the game out, you should have lost that game. You probably should have lost. But then there goes the Dallas not being able to convert in clutch situations. My God. So many flags and everything like that. It was ridiculous. It was so ridiculous. My God. My God. Trying to see if there's anything else here on Twitter, just following the game just so I could see anything else weird. Like any weird stat that popped up. I don't think I did or seen anything like that. But, this is a huge win in so many things. You go to 8-1. You get that, guaranteed split with Dallas in the division this year. So you get that win on your home turf. Whatever happens in Dallas happens in Dallas. And you got a stronghold in the division right now. A lot would have to go right for Dallas to win the division. You have the division basically in the grasp of your hands. So Dallas is 5-3. You're 8-1 going into the bye week. Granted, you still have a lot of tough games upcoming with Kansas City right after the bye week. Then you got Buffalo, I believe, mixed in there. Seattle, Dallas again on the road. And then you close it out with the season with, the Giants twice and the Cardinals. So it gets easier after that stretch, but still, this was the start of the gauntlet. And, hey, you're winning games. You're winning games, that's all that matters. But please, find a way to close games out better, please, for all of our sanities. Those final 2 minutes of the game was longer than the entire game combined. It just felt like it. Those were the longest 2 minutes of my life. Longest. I was literally just standing there in my basement, screaming, what the fuck is going on? They're going to choke this. They're going to choke this. I can't believe they're going to choke this. And then the final play happens, and I'm like, get the fuck out of here. My God. My brain hurts. Everything hurts. My God. It does not make sense. It just doesn't make sense. I can't believe it. So if we look at the upcoming schedule for the Eagles, bye week, of course, they desperately need that. Then they open up the bye week with a Monday night football game in Kansas City. Then they play Buffalo, San Francisco on the 3rd of December, Dallas on December 10th. That's a Sunday night football game. Then so they got 2 road games. So this is how the bye week comes off. Game on the road in Kansas City, 2 games at home against Buffalo and San Fran, 2 games on the road in Dallas and Seattle, then 2 games at home against the Giants and the Cardinals, and then 1 game on the road to close out the year in against the Giants. So that's how it looks right now. You still got the best record in football. You lead the entire league. Top's there, so that's good to see. Kansas City is 7-2. Baltimore 7-2. Baltimore's been really good this year. They're a sleeper team, in my opinion, even though they're one of the best teams in the league, because it just looks like it. The division, you got a nice, stronghold there. Got a nice little stronghold, so that's good to see as well. That's all that matters at the end of the day. God, it does, in my honest opinion. Oh, boy. Jeez. So much stress, though. So much stress that didn't need to happen. So much stress that didn't need to happen. It's just ridiculous, man. It really is. But, let's go to the Anytime Hotline here. Let's get a call in here. Let's get Sean on the voicemail line. Let's see what he has to say. I'm sure he has a lot to say about those final 2 minutes.
Jesus Christ, Amadeo. I didn't play in the game, of course, and I feel like I'm as worn out as the players are that played watching this shit. It's just tough to endure every week. I mean, it's never easy. Just not happy with the defense today at all. I mean, I know they came up big when they had to, but to make Dak Prescott look that good, basically Dallas's offense has one guy in it, CD Lamb. And I know we're hurt on the back end, but, why not try double teaming the guy? You obviously don't have anybody on your roster one-on-one that can cover him. Why not double him and force the ball into somebody else's hands? They never blitzed Prescott. They never put any different type of look against him at all. And it looks like mirror images of Eagles defenses of the past. It's very frustrating. Offensively, some shaky play calling again from Brian Johnson. The 3rd and 5 bomb to A.J. Brown with the game on the line and a chance to ice it made no sense. The Swift near fumble at the end was almost a disaster. I mean, I'm honestly surprised now that it's over that they won that game. I fully expected Dallas to win on the last play, and they damn near did. The injuries are of concern. Goedert's injury looked very bad. I expect him to have done some major damage to his forearm, probably out for a couple months, if I had to guess. We'll see. The bye week couldn't come at a better time, but this team needs to get it together. They're a much more talented team than the Dallas Cowboys, and you played down to their level, and luckily you escaped with a win today, because that's really what it was, pure luck.
I was going to give credit I said this earlier. I was going to give credit to Brian Johnson earlier because I thought there was a lot of creativity in the offense for a lot of sections of this game, but then he just reverted back to stupid. Like, seriously, like, you brought up the 3rd and 5 play to chance to ice the game off. Like, why are you throwing a bomb downfield on 3rd and 5? There's no point to do that. There just isn't. It's either you get cold feet, you don't know what to do to ice the game out. Dude, just try to get a first down, burn the clock out, and force them to use their timeouts. That's all you needed to do. And for some reason, he's been struggling in the past so many weeks to do that. Last week, it was the DeAndre Swift touchdown when he probably should have gone down before he got into the end zone. Even though that put you up by 2 scores, like, Washington just went down the field and scored instantly, and it came down to, an onside kick to win the game. You just need to figure out how to close games better. That's the issue. You need to figure out how to close games. Because I don't know how it's, against better competition, like when you're going, because the Cowboys, they're a good team. They're not, like you said, they're not as talented as the Eagles are, in my honest opinion. They're not. But when you're going up against teams like the Chiefs, teams like the Ravens and stuff like that, the 49ers, I know they've been struggling lately, but still, you got to be able to close games out better, man. That's what you need to do, because other teams like, Kansas City, like Baltimore, when you're giving these teams so many chances in the last minute of the game to win it, they're probably going to convert, unlike Dallas couldn't. So you need to figure out how to close games. I do agree with that standpoint. I do. I really do. Ugh, man. What a world we live in, man. Freaking Philadelphia sports, it's never easy. I'll get to you guys in the chat here before we end it off. Austin, how you doing? Truly one of the games of all time. I told my coworker it would be a close ending, but they really almost lost it. Yep, they almost did lose it. Star Wars, how are you doing? Yep, that ending was scary. I agree. Timothy, how are you doing? Yes, the defense did prevail tonight. I still didn't like it. Mind Freak, lost so many years of my life watching that. Oh, God. Corey didn't deserve that. So many fumbles. How is this team 8-1? It's a good question, but, they're a better team. They're a good team. They find ways to win. I guess you could say that. Dallas choked so bad. Still in really good standings going into the toughest stretch of the season. Yeah. Sixers have their first game versus Boston this week. Nervous about that? Yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it. So, yeah. 8-1. That's all that matters there. So, that's going to do it for today, everybody. So, I'm not sure how this week's going to go because, Maybe we'll incorporate Sixers recaps this week because the Flyers are on the West Coast all week. So a bunch of late games, I'm definitely not, instantly recapping those. So we'll probably incorporate some Sixers recaps this week with the Flyers being on the West Coast. So we'll probably work that in there. So definitely stay tuned for all that stuff. So, yeah, I appreciate you guys for joining tonight. Don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Don't forget to drop a like. Don't forget to check out everything in the description. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It does me a great deal of service. Also, use the code TTPSPORTS, $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. Great deal. Don't pass it up. Thanks, guys, for joining once again tonight. 8-1. Eagles are. Now it's the bye week. So we'll see what happens. But for now, I'll see you guys next.